Hello and welcome to the Inner Sanctum previews. We're doing the Hawthorn Hawks. How will they fare in 2023? We'll find out. I'm James Strevenos and this is Giacomo Bruno. How are you?
Not too bad, mate. Not too bad. Just eagerly waiting the start of the season and what should be an interesting campaign.
We're not far out from round one, but I feel like Hawthorn is one of the toughest teams to predict just because of so many changes throughout the off-season. We've lost so much experience, but we've also got in a lot of good youngsters, a lot of early draft picks, and then we've obviously got Josh Ward, Connor McDonald, and people that we drafted last year that might be coming into their shell as well. Who are some of the guys that we brought into the club that you're really looking forward at seeing next year?
I reckon Lloyd Meek is one to watch. He's a big boy. He's got good size on him. He's very capable. He can dynamic, can ruck, can play down forward. And because he's been, I guess, down the pecking order of the Fremantle Ruck Sox, he really hasn't had that much opportunities at the Dockers. He's going to rip it up. Him and
I like that
Reeves,
call.
him and Reeves, they're going to be a very good combo. We won't win too many games this season, but they'll make a very good account of themselves.
No, I love that call, G, because I feel like Meek is so powerful. And I think that's something we've lacked in a ruckman for a while. Like McAvoy was pretty powerful, but then we had Segler, who was a bit of a beanpole. Reeves is really skinny as well. And I feel like Meek just adds a bit of difference. And you get him and Max Lynch in the side as well. And that brings a lot of mongrel into the ruck. I'm looking forward to Cooper Stevens coming across from Geelong. Now, if you're managing 12 games as a youngster for the premiers, for the reigning premiers, you're doing a pretty good job. So he might be a smoky, come across. He's a bit of a bigger size build in that midfield. He could be a smoky this season. We will run through who we have got in the off season, starting with the draft. So we got first pick was Cam McKenzie at number 7. We got Josh Weddle at number 18. We got Jack O'Sullivan at pick 46. Henry Huswaite was before that at pick 37. And we got Bailey McDonald, pick 51. And then we got Bennett in the rookie draft. And we also got Carl Amon through free agency, Fergus Green, delisted free agent. And then we traded for Lloyd Meek and Cooper Stevens. Now, Hawthorn, a lot of experience going out, G. We're going to see the back of Jack Gunston, who I'm pretty sure Sam Mitchell wanted to keep, along with Jaeger O'Meara, who almost went to GWS and then went to Fremantle, and Tom Mitchell, and then obviously Tom Phillips, Jack Saunders, Liam Shields, Kyle Hardigan, Dan Howe, Connor Downey, and Jackson Callow. Any surprises there, G? Who don't you want to see the back of, and who was kind of expected?
I think Shields was kind of expected. I even think Gunston was kind of expected as well. I know he had a very good 2022 season, but was plagued with injuries in 2021. And I feel like his best footy was behind him. And in the rebuilding season, it's very much an emphasis on play for kids. And unfortunately, Gunston was just a casualty of that. And as was Liam Shields.
Yeah, I think Gunston's going to be one we're going to miss the most. So obviously, Mitch Lewis is also injured. So if you've got no Gunston, no Mitch Lewis in the forward line, where are the goals coming from? But we'll see what happens in round one and in the season beyond. But what did you take out of season 2022?
I thought it was mostly positive. Like,
Yeah,
I think everyone expected us to be a favourite for the wooden spoon, and we more than held our own. I feel like there was a lot of games where Hawks probably dropped points from winnable positions, which is to be expected in a young team like that. They gave it a real good crack. They were very competitive against the teams that ended up making the top 8, beat the Premiers. Like, I think that was their first Easter Monday win in a long time. So
yeah.
it was good to see these young kids come across, and it was good to see the plan that Sam Mitchell's put in place. We're a lot more attacking. We're faster. I like it. You're going to get hurt on the rebound, given that just the lack of experience and probably the lack of talent in comparison to the oppositions. But if you're going to lose, at least play well, play a good brand of football, have some flair, have some style, which is good to see.
I like your point, G. I feel like we got smashed in a lot of games, but there were so many games that we lost probably under 10 points. And it's like we weren't as far off making finals as what it kind of seemed. Is like we lost to Carlton by a point. We lost to Collingwood by a couple of points. We capitulated in the last quarter against Sydney, but we were up most of that game. And there were just a few games in the season, Fremantle as well, that we really
Yeah,
could
led at
have,
halftime.
yeah, we really could have stole.
Yeah,
And that's just going to come with experience. So people that are predicting us to finish bottom this year, I don't really agree with, just because yes, we're losing a lot of experience. We're probably losing a few goals as well with Gunston going. But we've got a side and another year under a game plan to really win those games that we probably dropped last year. And if things fall our way, if injuries fall our way and no one gets injured, then we could have a really surprising year. I'm not too optimistic as maybe what I sound now, but I feel like we could definitely surprise a few.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't think the loss of Mitchell and Amira is as big as what's being made out. You could argue and say that when Mitchell and Amira were on the ball, had less of an impact when Dylan Moore went through the middle, when Wingard went through the middle, when John Newcomb went through the middle. John Newcomb in his first full season of AFL absolutely smashed it last year. And you'd say he was well and truly our best midfielder.
Yeah, he's our
and
best
we've still
midfielder.
got them.
We've got our best midfield, and that's what people forget is Jager and Tom Mitchell, they weren't playing in our first midfield.
Yeah, and they weren't even the preferred options to play on the ball.
Like
they were, yeah.
You can say we're losing all this experience. The only one that really makes a dent in our side is no Gunston. It's
exactly.
The only one.
Yeah, where the goal is going to come from.
Yeah, he was the one that was actually playing a useful position, and he was the future. He was plans for 2023. Obviously, he didn't want to stay, and that's fine. But he's the only one that we need to try and find and replace. And do you know who do you think will replace Gunston this year? It's big shoes to fill. I don't know if we've got anyone on that list, but who do you see replacing Gunston?
Well, you'd say it's going to be either Fergus Green, who's looked all right at VFL level, and I feel like he's earned a spot on an AFL list because he has been very good for Box Hill.
Yeah.
And Jacob Kaczynski, who showed a bit in 2021 and probably faded away, not being the number one option when Mitchell Lewis was the focal point. Because you got to remember, when Mitchell Lewis was out in those games, Mitchell Lewis was out, and Cozzy was the number one option, he looked a lot more comfortable and looked a lot more better. I don't know what it is about him. If he's the number one guy, he seems to get to the footy. If he's not the number one option, he struggles a bit. So I guess that's something he needs to work on because he kicked 4 against the Demons, then kicked 3 the next week against the Swans. So he kicked 7 in 2 weeks when Mitch Lewis wasn't around.
Yeah, well, Cozzy's got a lot of shoes to fill with Lewis and Gunston out in the early parts of the season. I like your Fergus Green call, and I'll talk about him in just a second. But one that you might have missed there is Jai Sarong. He came in probably the last few games of the year. I think he played 2-3 games. And he looked all right. He's a good size. He can definitely fill a key position, and if not a third tall as well. And he's a pretty good mark, pretty accurate kick. And he's been apparently tearing down the house, but who isn't at this time of year? So I don't mind a bit of Jai Strong. But Fergus Green, he's one that I think is going to be underrated, fly under the radar a little bit because he's played Box Hill, the last 2-3 years, and he's pretty much been the best on that Box Hill list. He's always bobbed up for goals. And I think his main strength is not just his great goal sense and ability to just make something out of nothing, but he's actually a really good endurance runner. He's already finished in top 5 in the 3K, 2K, whatever time trials they do. It was in the top 5 of that. And I just noticed at Box Hill, he was always coming up clutch in the last quarter, but it was because of his endurance. He was running his opponent off their feet. He just does not get tired. That he could really be someone that when the game's kind of on the line, Fergus Green, he's still got a lot in the tank, a lot to push through. And he could be the one to bob up for a winning goal or something spectacular, especially late in the game. And he's done it countless times at Box Hill. So he's a smoky. I want to see him in the side round 1 against Essendon. I think he would be absolutely great early in the season and throughout.
Yeah, you've got nothing to lose in giving him an opportunity. He's proven that he's capable at VFL level. He does know where the goals are. And changing of the guard, as you said before, Gunston's not there anymore. Bruce has got so much left in him coming towards the end of his career. It is worth bringing these kids into the side, and I feel like Fergus Green is a very capable player.
Now,
You go.
No, I was just going to say, we'll go to some major off-season news. Obviously, let's get through this. So, I don't mind. Clarko loved this. He liked changing positions of everyone on the list. And you can almost name any guy that we drafted as a forward he liked to turn into a defender. Now, we did draft Will Day a few years ago, and I hear this preseason, we're molding him to be a midfielder. How do you feel about that, G? Given his slight frame, and he probably had a really inconsistent 2022. I know you're not the biggest Will Day fan we've ever seen, but do you think moving him into the midfield will benefit his game?
As an outside mid, I'd like it. He could be the answer a replacement that we really haven't found for Isaac Smith.
Yep.
Has a bit of pace, isn't too bad by foot, and can run
No,
all day.
he's got great skills. He burnt it a little bit last year, but it's a bit like Scrimshaw. He tries to bite off a bit more than he can chew, which makes him look a bit worse than what he is. Like he has the confidence from a young player, Will Day. And I feel like he's tall enough, maybe not big enough, but he's definitely tall enough to throw him in the centre bounce. I don't mind that. He's got the skills, he's got the evasiveness, and he's got the footy IQ to be able to do that. I'm not sure if there's any other position changes at the top of my head. I heard Hardwick say on SEN the other day that he might actually move up the ground. And as you remember, G, we drafted Blake Hardwick as a forward. He was the leading goal kicker in the TAC Cup when we drafted him. Do you like anything about that? Because I think he's probably the most underrated lockdown defenders in the league. That why would you move him out of the back 50 and try and get him into the forward line when we've got Butler, Brockman, Wingard, Moore as small forwards? Like, what can Hardwick offer us up the ground that no one else can?
I don't think there's a point of difference with him in the forward line.
Yeah.
I don't think he offers anything different. He's very good down back. He's been a fixture of our back line for years. I don't know. Don't fix what ain't broke. It's not like this hasn't been unexperimented per se. There's been times that not under Mitchell, but under Clarkson, where he's gone up forward and really hasn't done much.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Which is funny. He's gone up forward and looked lost, and we drafted him as a forward. He's a far better defender.
Yeah, he's not his future Australian if he catches the eyes of the selectors, but he goes about his business pretty quietly. Does Blake Hardwick? Mitch Lewis. Now, my heart almost sunk when I first saw the news, and that's because I read ACL before I read sprained. Now, I didn't even know you could sprain your ACL. I didn't even know that was a thing. I thought you do an ACL out for a year. So when I heard that news, I was very worried. And if there's one player Hawthorn can't afford to lose, it's Mitch Lewis. Would I be right there, G?
And who thought we'd be saying this 12 months ago?
I know.
It's taken him a long time to get it together. He was probably one of the most frustrating players as a Hawthorn supporter to watch his first 6 years of his career.
Yeah.
He's he's knack to just want to stay at home and not move out of the goal square. He became a lot more mobile, a lot more flexible this year and got reward for effort and became a really good forward this year. And it's just a shame that as soon as it started to click for the big man, he's now gone down. He's going to another setback.
Now, they've already ruled him out of round one. Now, maybe Hawthorn are just doing that. Maybe they're going to pull a surprise. I saw him shooting a basketball the other day on the Hawthorn Instagram and he looked fine. So who knows? But we did discuss a bit about who's going to replace Gunston, and you threw up Kaczynski and I threw up Sarong, and they're probably more Gunston replacements. Do we throw a ruckman down forward to replace Lewis for round one? Do we put Max Lynch, who's actually showed pretty good nous around the goals? He's not even that bad as a forward. Do we stick him down forward, or do we just use Meek and Reeves and just rotate them and make sure that one's always resting forward?
Max Lynch isn't a bad shout.
Yeah.
He's very raw at the moment, but I feel like he's got something. He's worth persisting with. He's very, very agile for a big man. He does get lost around the ground, but I feel like maybe if we just play him up forward, where he doesn't have to run around the ground like a ruckman does, you just play him one out. He'll be very good. He's quick for his size. He's built. He'd be a pretty good forward, in my opinion. But in saying that, I like what Jekka did last year.
Jekka looks okay. Good shout. He's actually been training with the forwards as we speak, so who knows? I did like him playing defense late last year, but we did draft him as a forward, can play both ends of the ground. I wouldn't probably throw DGB down there, but one name that when you said raw ruckman, I don't mind the look of Max Ramsden. I feel like he's got a good size. He's 200 odd centimeters. He's built pretty nicely. He's very raw. He's still very slight, but he showed a lot late last year for Box Hill when we drafted him in the mid-season draft that maybe Sam Mitchell will throw another surprise there. Have you seen a lot of Max Ramsden?
I've seen a bit of him. He's still too raw at the moment.
Yeah,
maybe Chuck Sicily down forward.
Yeah. Oh, that's not a bad shout, but you just wish you could clone a few Sicilies, don't you? Have one back, one mid, one forward, and maybe even one in the right.
I know that a lot of what works in the back line revolves around him. the rebounds off halfback have been exceptional. He's a great intercept mark.
But we do have a lot of
But
depth
we have
down
got a
there.
lot of we've got a lot of depth down
Because
back.
remember,
I feel
G,
like yeah.
Frost and Blank haven't played in the same side together yet. Frost got injured, and then we drafted Blank in the mid-season draft, and it kind of worked out pretty nicely. Frost got injured, we draft a fullback, he goes slots in. That worked nicely, but they haven't played the same side. So we get Frost back, we get Blank. They're your key pillars, Frost and Blank. Sicily has a room to just riff forward. So could be worth persisting just in the early rounds while Mitch Lewis tries to get right. That's if Mitch Lewis doesn't
Yeah, and
play.
he can play forward.
Yeah,
He's
so
proven that he can play forward at AFL level, James Sicily.
Frost can too. Frost can too. I wouldn't be against throwing.
Well, he had a
him
day
there.
out against Brisbane last year.
Yeah, he did. So he's another one. Any other major off-season news, G?
Well, Sam Butler can throw hands. We know that.
Wasn't that great to see? Now,
No. I liked this.
yeah, I did too. I think it was storm in a teacup. I think the media blew this up. I think after hearing what CJ said after the training session, and he said something on the lines of Sam Mitchell's really trying to make us start little spot fires, have few scruffs, and literally just train as you play. Like,
Yeah.
it's bringing back the unsociable Hawks,
Which
the
we
mongrel
need.
in
If
them.
you're not, you can't be perceived as pushovers. So if you're not going to win games, at least have teams go, oh God, we're going to play Hawthorn. They're just going to rough us up. They're going to be annoying.
And I think that's what we can afford to do. Being such a young side, we've got that energy to be physical and physical all over the game. We can just tire out other teams' veterans and run them off their feet. I feel like Sam Mitchell's been really big on just drafting this really endurance-based, speedy, athletic side. And I know he's flogging the boys in preseason, just making run. I feel like we're just going to be a really fast side that's really physical and runs opponents off their feet. Because if you're the fitter side, you win. And we saw what Sydney did last year. They have a young side, and they were pretty much copying what they're doing. Is they have a young side, they're really fit, and they were just running teams off out of the park. They were getting weren't they getting flogged? No, maybe they weren't. I was going to say that prelim against Collingwood. Were they down or were they up for
Sydney?
I think they were up the
Sydney
whole time.
was smashing them pretty much
Yeah,
the whole
that's
match.
right. Collingwood was the one that came back, but they're another fit side as well. I think that's it for.
Yeah, the only issue I have with that is, has a team actually won the premiership playing like that? Like Port were very close. Yeah, but Richmond was more around pressure. It was their defensive game that won premierships more than their offensive style. Like you look at Port,
You've got to be
very close, playing very well, and Sydney did as well.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
I want it to work. I want us to.
The Doggies, when they won 2016, was a bit.
Okay,
they won it from seventh, though. They won it from seventh, though. So they weren't the best side all year.
I'll concede.
They weren't.
That way.
But what I'll say though, G, about they're a pressure side. You need to be fit and be able to run to be able to put pressure on for an entire game.
Yeah.
So if you're not fit, you can't put pressure on an entire game. That's what Richmond were able to do. Is they were just a really fit side. So they're probably the exception to that. You can take us through some quick fire questions to wrap us up.
So how have you judged the preseason?
I think it's been good. Obviously, we just alluded to that little storm in a teacup physical stuff. I feel like it has been really physical, the things that I've seen. It's been really endurance-based. I haven't seen a lot of skills and match play and simulation too much. I've just seen a lot of weights and running, and that's what preseason's all about. I just feel like we've got a really fit side. And I think the top 5 in our 2Ks, they were all first year at the club. I know Fergus Green was one that I alluded to before. Carl Amon was in there. There was a couple. Whoever won it was a surprise as well. So we have a few good runners in our side. I just feel like he's really making us run, and I like that because we're just going to be one of the fitter sides in preseason. What have you liked about the preseason?
Similar to what you forget to say, I've liked that it seems like every coach, assistant coach has had to front up the media. Oh, we expect so-and-so to play through the midfield. We expect this guy to play through the midfield. It looks
versatility.
Like it's a throwback to the three-peat era where about basically half the side at one point ran through the middle.
Yeah. No, I was talking about that to someone the other day. Is maybe not even our three-peat era, but I feel like Sam Mitchell was trying to make everyone versatile. How many players in the 2008 grand final were utilities? Think about your Xavier Alice's, your Rick Ladsons, your Clinton Youngs, even Brent Guerra, Stewie Jew. They could all play in so many different roles on either flank, on the wing, up forward. Michael Osborne, Campbell Brown is a good one, actually. He played back and forward. He played forward much of that 2008 grand final. I feel like we're drafting people now that can all roll through the midfield, or they can all have stints up forward. We saw Jack Scrimshaw have stints up forward last year. And players like that, CJ will move up the ground. Impey can play both ends of the field. I feel like Carl Amon's another one that can probably play all over the ground as well, as can Wingard. So I feel like we're just bringing people in the club that can play every position. And that just makes us so good when it makes us have so much depth, because when there's an injury, we can just move this player here and this player here and this player here. So yeah, I don't mind that point. I don't mind that point at all.
So a must pick for fantasy or super coach.
I'm going James Warple. It has to be a big year for James
And
Warple.
I agree.
Tom Mitchell and Jago O'Meara out of the side. I think you can get James Warple on Supercoach for about 305,000, which is an absolute steal. Just lock him in there because he's starting midfielder. And if he gets his form right back to 2019, then he's got to be averaging over 100 a week. And that's a staple. And he's just going to be making money in fantasy. And then if he drops form, he's probably made enough money that you can just trade him and bring in a primo. So I'm going James Warple.
One change that needs to be made. Do you want me to go first?
You go first.
Because I've got one for this. Wingard needs to play on the ball more.
Nah.
I've been adamant about this. Under
No.
Clarkson and Mitchell, he's not been utilised to his strengths. He's got X factor. He's got pace. He's a good kick. He can give us a burst out of the middle. He looks a lot more lively when we play on the ball. When he's on the ball, things happen.
I don't disagree with you, but I've got two reasons. One, guy's injury prone as fuck. I don't know if I'm allowed to swear, but he's injury prone as fuck.
We'll beep it.
He has not played a full season. Maybe he's played one full season since he's been at the club. That back end of 2021, he was showing things in the midfield and up forward. I just feel like now we have drafted and have a lot of young midfielders coming through that Wingard isn't necessarily taking a young guy's spot up forward as much. Yes, we've got Butler and Brocky, Tyler Brockman. They're our kind of young small forwards, and Dylan Moore as well, who will probably stay forward. But we've got so many more young midfielders coming through, especially untried ones, Cam McKenzie, Josh Ward, like blokes like this, Cooper Stevens, that I feel like need to be blooded into that midfield. I'm fine with Will Day staying midfield. He's another young guy. I'm fine with Carl Amon. If he wants to have a starting midfield position, he can do it because he's not as versatile as someone like Wingard. Like, I'm not putting Carl Amon forward pocket. I'm putting Wingard forward pocket. So Carl Amon can go in the midfield. I just feel like Wingard doesn't need to be in there. I don't mind him attending a few centre bounces, but I'm not having him as a starting midfielder. He needs to go where he does his best work, and that's being mercurial around goals and that's setting up goals and whatever. I feel like he's good in the midfielder, but he's good in the midfield, but we've got so many midfielders coming through that I don't want Wingard to waste a spot in there.
You've argued your point well, but I don't think you've argued well enough to change my mind.
Oh, gee whiz. You're a hard man to crack, Jay. You're a
Because
hard man to crack.
he is a difference maker when he's on the ball. We look a lot more dangerous going
forward. I like it. I just feel like as a young side,
out the middle.
As a young side, there's so many opportunities to go into that midfield. I'd rather give it to someone else and see if they can kind of make it their own. Next question, G. That was a big one.
What are you most excited for? It's the kids, isn't it?
It's the kids.
It's the simple answer, but it's the truth.
I was going to say round one, but I'm not even here. I'm not even in the country for round one. Would have loved big game against the Bombers at the G on Sunday. Perfect. But I'm going to go with the kids. And most particularly our two top draftees in Cam McKenzie and Josh Weddle. They've both got something about him. Josh Weddle more physical, but then Cam McKenzie with his skills can kick both sides of the body, can lower the eyes. I feel like we're finally drafting midfielders. Connor McDonald's another one that you just know is going to hit that forward on the chest when they're leading. I feel like the one thing that Tom Mitchell and Jago O'Meara couldn't do is hit a target. I feel like they're always chaos balling or putting floaters on top of the forwards' heads, and they just weren't really smart about their clearances going inside forward 50. So, yeah, I'm just really excited about drafting good kickers and just our young kids and just the ability to just go forward. I'm just liking our young midfield. I feel like we've got a nucleus there that can take us forward in the next 5-10 years and hopefully win us a few flags.
Yeah. It's a big year for. There's a lot of them. You go first because I know exactly what I'm going to say, and you probably know exactly where I'm going with this.
I already said James Warple, so we know that. I'm not gonna keep harping on about it. But I am actually going to go with Tyler Brockman.
I like
Now
this.
he missed last year. Did he break his leg or do his knee or something in the first minute that he played a Box Hill game? He obviously had a bit of homesickness issues. He just had twins, Tyler Brockman. He just had twins with his misso from Perth. Sam Mitchell also has twins. So I feel like they've got that connection. Sam Mitchell can kind of teach him how to be a father, whatever. He's only a young boy, Tyler Brockman. I just feel like he's one that's missed a whole year of footy. I don't know if you remember his last game though, G. It was the last round of
Against Richmond, he was
2021
very good.
against Richmond. Sean Burgoyne's last game, that draw that we choked at the end, but he kicked about 3 goals. He has X factor written on him. If he can get it together, this is the biggest call I'm going to make. But he could generally be the Luke Bruce replacement.
Yeah,
And
100%.
and
100%.
and this is a massive call. He can be just as good. His ceiling can be just as good as Luke Bruce.
Yeah,
I reckon he could be just
100%.
as good as a player as Luke. Very different player. He's more of a Cyril type of those indigenous kind of mercurial small forwards.
Yeah.
Like he's more of that. But mate, like I'm really excited for Brockman. I feel like if he's done most of the preseason, especially after Christmas. I don't know if he did anything before. I know he's training with Shai Bolton before that. He did a lot of it back in WA. He did a lot of preseason before pre-Christmas. He joined the group after Christmas, after the new year, and he's looking good. And I feel like there's a spot open for him or Butler in that small forward. And if Brocky takes it with 2 hands, he could have an amazing year. So I'm really excited for Brocky.
Yeah. So for me, it's a big year for, and I think you knew this was coming. Will Day.
Yeah.
He hit the ground running in 2020.
And in 2021, a little bit.
And I was going to get to that as well. In a down year, he was one of the shining lights. He looked very good and wasn't like a high. No, he actually was, wasn't he?
He was a high draft pick.
He was a high draft pick.
Yeah, it was about pick 13.
Played well. 2021, when he got on the park, looked very good.
Yeah.
This year was very ordinary, if I have to be brutally honest.
Yeah.
We trialled him in his natural position, which is across halfback as that rebounding defender. It didn't really show much. We tried him in the midfield, outside and inside mid, didn't really show much. And we tried him up forward and really didn't do much apart from that game against West Coast where he kicked a couple.
I agree.
I feel like he's on a downward trajectory, which is a bit concerning given how young he is, where you necessarily the trend is they go up.
Yeah.
Where it looks like he's gone backwards. I think it's a big year for him to just reset, get it all back together, whatever injuries problems he's had, whatever form problems he's had, just put it all behind him and get back on that upward trend. It's a huge year for him.
Please don't do a Warple where you have a good first 2 years and then you just go into the wilderness. So I hope he does recover. He does look good. I feel like his first 2 years, he just never made a mistake. He came in and everything he did just turned to gold. And last year, mistakes just started creeping in his game. I don't know if he was trying to do too much with the ball. I don't know if he was lacking confidence. I don't know if it was that because of injury or whatever. But no, I'm not really worried about Will Day. I think a new position pushing into that midfield will really help him.
Yeah, it wasn't a concern to me in the early part of the year, but I just noticed the more the season got on, he did not get any better. There was not an improvement from him, and I thought, nah, this ain't it. This isn't the same player that was playing 2 seasons ago. So he needs a big season. And who's ready for a breakout campaign?
Oh, it's almost a similar question, isn't it?
It is.
I'm going to go with Connor McDonald. I feel like
I like
he was showing a lot last year, but only in small patches throughout games. So he didn't end up getting that rising star nom just because he didn't put a game completely together. He kicked some fantastic goals. He looked really nice in passages of plays. Now, if he gets a full game together, if he breaks out, this guy is going to be something. Like this guy, he's got potential written all over him. We're just yet to see him fully break out. And I think this is going to be the year. He's already had a year under the belt. He's going to see Weddle and McKenzie coming through. And it's not his first year anymore. He's a big boy now. He can lead those youngsters almost, him and Wardy. So I feel like, it's going to be Connor McDonald. I just love that guy. It's just so silky. He kicks some nice goals. He's just all class, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. Like you said, I just hope he does get a full game together because there is like passage of play where he bobs up, kicks a goal, like, Oh yeah, that's right. He's playing. I haven't seen him
Yeah,
for about 2 quarters.
literally, but I fucking
He
love
does.
him.
He has like 5 minutes of brilliance. I think he does go missing.
He's my favorite player. I'll put my hand up. My
Yeah,
current
very
favorite
good when I.
Hawthorn player
Yeah,
is Connor McDonald. I love that man.
he's very good. I just like he's very flashy. I just, as you said, just 4 quarter performances we need more of in 2023.
100%. Who you going with, G? Who's breaking out?
He's breaking out. See, we've covered Brockman, and this was going to be my pick for the breakout player.
Do you want to go with Butler? Do you reckon Butler will have a good year?
I like what I've seen of him. Like
If
the
he
thing
brings
is,
that aggressiveness that he
yeah,
did with
got
Sicily,
the issue for Butler is that Luke Bruce exists, and if Luke Bruce is available, you pick him every day of the week.
and there's probably, I reckon
So
there's a
like,
one
I
spot
can't see
open.
him breaking in just because Luke Bruce is there. Like
But
unless other forwards don't really perform, and then he can come in and have an impact.
do you have Brockman in your side?
See, I don't have Brockman round one either, but I
But you
feel like
have,
eventually he'll break in.
do you have Fergus?
Fergus Green, I do have playing
Because
round
I
one.
feel like you can only play one in this current
Yeah.
side of probably the predicted 22 in our heads. In the current side we've got, you can only play one of Butler, Brockman, Green.
The only one that I can really think of that could have a breakout year that's been a regular is probably Ned Reeves.
Yeah, no, stick with that. That is a great call, actually. He's got another
I feel
ruckman
like
with him.
I feel like he's got another ruckman that can support him, and I feel like he's got a full season under his belt now. He's put on some size in the off season. We can see that for quite a big man, he moves reasonably okay.
You just need to go back to that first quarter of Easter Monday against Geelong before he got injured.
Ripped him in that 1 quarter.
That is probably another massive call, but that's the best I've seen a Hawthorn ruckman play in about 10 years. And McAvoy existed and had bloody good games. But that first quarter of Ned Reeves on Easter Monday was probably the best.
I think wasn't it like Hawthorn kicked 3 goals before they even touched the ball?
Yeah, and it was all due to the tap work, the clearances.
Exactly.
They hadn't even touched the footy Geelong, and thanks to Ned Reeves, they couldn't get a hand on it from the absolute first bounce. So no, back that in, G. Back that in. Ned Reeves all the way.
What's a headline that you'll see?
I think, and it's a bit boring, G. But Hawthorn avoid the bottom four, not the top four. We won't make it there, but we will avoid the bottom four. I feel like we're not as bad as what other people think. Are we a bottom side four on paper? Yeah, we're bottom side four on paper. I think that's a fair enough call. Our list, and if you put our best 22, it's a bottom side. But I think we show enough in games. Our game plan kind of works. It capitulates at time too. Teams can really rebound us easily, score really heavily against us. But I feel like there's something there with us. I feel like we can win enough games. As I alluded to before, G, we lost a fair few games under 2 goals this year.
Yeah.
Or ones that we were up at 3/4 time. And as a young side, you kind of go off like against Essendon and stuff like that. Just games that we were in very winnable positions that we just didn't hang on to. So, yeah, I feel like we're in for an okay year. I reckon we're probably going to win around the same amount of games as last year and avoid the bottom four.
Yeah, and I completely agree with that.
Yeah. What's your headline, though? Do you have a special one? Do you have something that's not boring?
No, I back in what you've just said.
Okay,
listen, it's a bit of a cop out.
Feed off me.
Hey,
Fine,
it's a bit of a cop out,
fine.
but no lies were detected in what you just said. So
No.
we'll run with it.
Fair enough. No.
The one game that is a must watch this year, I'm kind of in two minds. There's the Easter Monday game, obviously, but also round one against the Bombers.
Let me have Easter Monday because I'm not going to be there for round one. So you can have round one and just tell us all what you're looking forward to round one.
You're against traditional rivals.
Yep.
They're a new look side. We've got a new coach. They want to make it a statement because they've probably been underwhelming in recent years gone by. So they want to go in, make a statement that we're on the upwards trajectory and watch out for us this season. And we're a side that's rebuilding. We look completely new. And we're kind of like a similar thing to the Bombers. Like we want to show that we're not here just to be competitive. We want to hold more than our own.
Yeah, I feel like they're a good matchup for round one. I think Peter Wright might be one that's under an injury cloud as well. So without Wright for them, without Lewis for us, it might be a really unpredictable type of game. And A game where someone can just have a breakout game and win it for their side. So I don't mind round one, traditional rivals, Sunday afternoon at G. Oh, mate, what a spectacle. I'm absolutely gutted that I'm going to miss that one. I am going, obviously, Easter Monday. Happens every year. The amount of times that we walk out of Easter, like Easter's ruined for me as a child.
Yeah,
Walking
and
out of Easter Monday, Kennett Curse, Geelong song just blaring full blasters, a bloody James Parsons or a Billy Schmetz or a Jordan Murdoch or some
Tom
Geelong.
Hawkins is consistently annoying.
Yeah, but I'm talking about the real nuffy players for Geelong that just seem to kick a goal late and bury it for us. I know Schmetz did it, Murdoch did it, a few others did it. And I've got nightmares, G, about Geelong. But last year, we beat them on Easter Monday, and it's probably the biggest serotonin high I've gotten since whenever, probably since Warple kicked that winner against Essendon back in 2018. That was beautiful as well. But yeah, I'm looking forward to Easter Monday. I feel like the reigning premiers, we beat them last year. We can do it again. Young side. There's no better bragging rights than beating our most fiercest rivals. If it's not Essendon's Geelong. So yeah, we're going with our rival games. I think we're a chance. I feel like no matter where the teams are on the ladder, they always bring their best to an Easter Monday clash, and they've really been a bad Easter Monday clash. Although we've been on the wrong side of pretty much all of them.
Yeah. So minimum expectation for your club this year, I'll start us off with no blowouts. There cannot be games. I know we're a young side, but there cannot be games like last year where they lost by 10 goals plus to the Suns.
Yeah,
like you just cannot. We're not copping performances like that.
Yeah, I never felt more embarrassed than round 4 against St Kilda.
That as well. That was not a
G.
good performance. Yeah,
That was really, really, really poor. I almost have to agree with you there. I think the last time we lost by 100 points was in Clarko's first year against Port Adelaide. I can't recall us losing by 100 points since. I know we've had some beatings, but mine, and it's probably not a minimum expectation, but I'm just to go on top of your one, I'm going to steal your one here. It's just nothing over 100 points. People expecting us to go pretty bad this year. And I don't, if we're losing games by 100 points, then they can take the chocolates because we're probably a worse team than what we think. Nothing, no blowouts, and especially nothing over 100 points. And I think minimum, because it's minimum, I don't want anything over a 50-point loss. I'll cop a 50-point loss if there's one or two of them, nothing more than that.
Yeah, 100%. And I feel like Hawthorn the critics have been harsh on them. Which leads into the next question, where your club will finish on the ladder in 2023. They're not winning the spoon.
Every person, I think it's just a safe option for all these teams. They see the experience going out of Hawthorn, but they're fair weathers. They don't follow it as close as what we do in our own club. Now, when you say Tom Mitchell, Jago O'Meara, and Jack Gunson are leaving your club, now pretend it's the end of 2021, not 2022. We're probably like, oh my God, what they're leaving. But we saw last year, and we alluded to this before, that Tom Mitchell and Jago O'Meara didn't play any important roles. We left the midfield for the kids. We were getting blown out because Sam Mitchell didn't actually throw Jago or Tom Mitchell into the middle when we were getting smashed. He kept persisting with Newcomb. He kept persisting with Moore. He kept persisting with Josh Ward, whichever other young person was getting thrown in that midfield, because they need to learn. They need to learn to just keep battling and battling and battling. Now, we're not going to be that bad this year. We are not. I feel like people are just getting into their heads. You're getting rid of Gunson, you're getting rid of Mitchell, you're getting rid of O'Meara. Oh, that's automatic bottom of the ladder. Oh, and North have Clarko. So they just got to go right up and probably make finals. Yeah. Wrong, because Clarko couldn't even make us finals for the last 5 years he was coach here, or probably last 3 years he was coach.
It's kind of annoying how the narrative changed that when O'Meara and Mitchell were there were cheap disposals and weren't impactful players. And now that they've gone, we lose valuable experience all of a sudden.
Always happens. Can't do anything about it. I reckon we will finish. I'm going to be a bit optimistic as I have been all night. I reckon we're 12th. I reckon we're finishing 12th.
And I agree.
12th, 13th, around that.
I feel like they're a bit better than the bottom four side.
We're between 10th and 14th. Anything around there. 100%. 10th and 14th.
They'll be solid. They'll surprise a few. They're certainly not close to being a top 8 side.
No.
But
I feel like you never know, but I doubt we'll be going to finals this year, G. I doubt it.
Well, we could be one of those sides that just there's always that one team that was around the bottom four thereabouts that bounces up the next season out of nowhere.
Yeah.
So like, I guess we're a good chance of doing that. I can't see it, but you'd love that. But I can't say it. I think 10th to 14th is more than fair.
G, it's been a pleasure. We have run out of time. I think we've gone way over time, mind you. Just looking forward to the season ahead. And thanks for joining us at the In Sanctum.
Not a problem at all, mate. Gun Hawks.
Can't